Hello students, today we will read or study about plant and animal tissues, which is from your bio textbook of class 7. Now before we understand about plants and animal tissues, we will first have to understand that what are these tissues made up of. Now each one of you should know that the tissues are made up of cells. Now when you see in this flow chart, you can very well see that life begins from here. From where? From the cells. Be it a unicellular or a multicellular organisms, each of these have thousands, millions, billions or trillions of cells in their body. These cells organize themselves to form tissues. The tissues organize themselves according to the specific functions and location to form different organs. Now each of these organs organize in a very highly organized manner to form organ systems. These organ systems finally become an organism. Okay? Now, what is a cell? The structural and functional unit of life is the cell. The cell, whether that of a unicellular or a multicellular organism, consists of protoplasm, the living substance. As we go further down, you will see that I have highlighted the key words of each of these with red. There are various organelles present inside the cell. Now these organelles are arranged in a highly organized manner to perform specific functions. Now cells organize to form tissues. Tissues organize to form organs, and organs further form organ systems, as I explained you before. Therefore, one can say that the bodies of plants and animals are organized structures, and therefore they are called organisms. So why are they called organisms? Because the bodies of plants and animals are organized structures, and therefore they are called organisms. All multicellular organisms, both plants and in animals, start their life as a single cell. I repeat again, as a single cell. The fertilized egg, or that one single cell, is known as a zygote. This zygote or the fertilized egg divides repeatedly to produce thousands, millions or billions of cells, and it is said that the human body contains trillions of cells in them. Now, some of these cells form the skin, some form the muscles, some others form bones, and still others form blood. Now, how do we define a tissue now after learning this much or knowing about all these tissues, organs, organ system? We can define a tissue as a group of cells which are similar in structure and perform a specific function. Okay? So, the definition of a tissue will be a group of cells which are similar in structure and perform a specific function, form a tissue. Now we will first read about plant tissues. Now plant tissues are mainly categorized into two types, that is the meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. The meristematic tissues are the growth tissues, or which are found at all the growth points in the plant, which is the tip of the roots, stems and branches. The meristematic tissue helps the plant body to grow in thickness as well as in length. Its main function of this tissue is to produce more cells, leading to the growth of the plant. Now we come to the second type of tissue, which is known as permanent tissue. Now permanent tissues do not divide. Okay, but the meristematic tissues, they are actually the dividing cells of the plant body. Now, these permanent tissue consist of specialized cells which perform particular functions and they do not divide. They can be furthermore categorized into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Okay, under simple permanent tissue comes protective tissue and the supporting tissue. Now the protective tissues is present on the surface of the roots, stems and leaves, and the supporting tissue is again divided into three types, as you can see in both these flow charts: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, now parenchyma is found in the soft parts of the plants and its main function is to store food material. Example is potato. Okay, collenchyma's main function is to support the plant body. Okay, to give support to the plant. The main function of the sclerenchyma cells is to provide strength to the plant. Now, these two, that is the protective tissue and the supporting tissue, were simple permanent tissue. Okay, now we come under the third, that is the complex permanent tissue, which is the conducting tissue, and the other name given to this conducting tissue is vascular tissue. Under vascular tissue or the conducting tissue comes two main categories, that is the xylem and the phloem. The xylem transports water and mineral in the plant body, whereas phloem helps in the movement of food that is manufactured in the leaves. So here we come to the brief explanation of plant tissue. Now let us understand about or know something about animal tissues. Now animal tissues is categorized into four different categories. Number 1, epithelial tissue. Number 2, connective tissue. Number 3, muscular tissue. Number 4, nervous tissue. The epithelial tissue is again divided into or categorized into four different types depending upon the shape of their cells. Okay? Depending upon the shape of their cells. Number 1 is the squamous epithelium, which is protective in nature. Number 2, cuboidal epithelium, which is absorptive in nature. Number 3, columnar epithelium, which is secretory in nature. And number 4, ciliated epithelium, which helps in the movement of substances in which it comes into contact with. Okay? Now this was epithelial tissue. Now we come to connective tissue. Connective tissue is again categorized into three types: fibrous tissue, supportive tissue and fluid tissue. Fibrous tissue are again divided into two types: areolar tissue, adipose tissue. Areolar tissue is the tissue which binds our skin to the underlying tissue, under which comes the tendons and the ligaments. Adipose tissue have fat globules in them. Okay. Now we come to supportive tissue. Now supportive tissue, as the name suggests, that supports the animal body. That means, what are those? Those are bones, and the cartilages. Okay. So therefore the supportive tissue is the bone and the cartilage. And finally we come to the fluid tissue, which is also part of the connective tissue, in which comes the blood and the lymph, because they are fluid in nature. Therefore they come under fluid tissue, and because they are connecting, therefore connective tissue. Next we come to muscular tissue. Now muscular tissue, as the name suggests, is related to the muscles. So what are the different types of muscles? Striated muscles, unstriated muscles and cardiac muscles. Striated muscles are voluntary muscles. Unstriated muscles are involuntary muscles, and cardiac muscles are muscles which are present in the heart, and therefore they are known as the cardiac muscles. Finally, we come to the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue consists of the neurons. There are millions and millions of neurons in our brain and spinal cord all along our body. And what is their function? Their function is sending and receiving messages. So, this is all about animal tissue. We have just done a quick explanation of plant and animal tissues. We will deal with all these in detail regarding their functions, where they are present, in our next video.